Hey, welcome back to Pints with Pals. I'm your host, Jeremy, and with me, I have Mike and Jason. Say hi, guys.
Hi guys.
I
There you go. So, you guys do anything interesting this week at all?
Um, no, no.
No.
I went to try and prepare for these meetings these podcasts. I went to the Total Wine and More and picked up like a 4-pack of a bunch of different stuff, and then split them all up into like my wife and I get two, and then you guys get each one, and then hopefully, Jeremy, when you're
just
up
to be
here.
clear, it wasn't just a 4-pack. It was like 24
Multiples.
packs. Yeah, I mean, he sent a picture. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you guys got, I think it was 8, 12 beers or so. 10 beers maybe. So yeah, like 10 4-packs. So yeah, it wasn't a small endeavor.
They're
But
all
it was just easy because what we're struggling to do, and which I feel is a good, at least for right now, is getting the same beer. I'm having a hard time just even finding anything of a style that we're trying to focus on. So I just felt like that was like to get a, oh crap, we can't figure out what to do. Let's just do one of the backup ones that we have. So
Mhm.
I kind of like that. What about
Right.
you, Jason?
Oh yeah. Thinking. Well, today for dinner we went to the Madero Cantina, which is down the street, and I had because this is coming off of our Cinco de Mayo episode, so I was able to find Victoria. They had it in bottles there, so I'm happy. I was like, yes, I was craving one, and then of course they put a lime on it, and I'm like, well, after the talk with Jeremy, like I don't actually want a lime in my. Well, I don't like lime in my Victoria, but anyway.
There you go.
And then the night before, we went to this burger place, Butter Joint. And they had a brewery that I hadn't heard of, and my friend in Pittsburgh also hadn't heard of, down in the Strip District. I'm gonna butcher the name. It's Laulo or something like that. Um,
Hmm.
and they had a ghost, it was very good. It was very cloudy. I didn't expect it to be as hazy as it was, but it was good.
Wonder if it was cold chilled or whatever. They kind of, or
Maybe
cold haze, I think is what it's called when it gets too cold too fast. All the proteins just gonna sit there and get this weird haze to it.
it was good.
Uh, yeah. So I guess
Jeremy?
it leaves me. Yeah. So let's see. Wednesday I had one of my homebrew meetings, which we had a really good turnout. There's about 20 of us or so,
Oh wow.
and there's a wide variety of beers. We had like people's barrel aged beers. We had people's meads were there. We had one that had slow berries in it, which is the same berries that you put into slow gin. So it was a
Mm.
delicious. I mean, delicious mead. Really sweet though. I mean, it's nothing you can probably drink more than like maybe a 6 ounce pour would be like way too much, but a nice dessert sipper for sure. Let's see. I got my homebrew club to try my orange creamsicle, and everyone seemed to really, really like it. Um, I feel like from the side conversation I was hearing, I did miss a couple things they would want to see. Maybe a tad bit more sweetness into it, and
Mm.
maybe more head. But the only bad thing was I poured it into one of the big like growlers or whatever, so it
Oh
doesn't keep head retention for long
yeah.
anyway. So then other than that, I went over to my neighbor's house just like a few doors down, and then he enjoys beer. So I told him a week ago, so I'll have to keg my orange creamsicle if you guys want to try. Let me know. He said, "Yeah, sure." So I went down there last night and we sat on the front porch and drank some beers and shoot the shit and stuff like that. It was a good time. It was a
Orange
good time.
creamsicle IPA, right?
IPA, yeah, yeah,
Oh.
That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to try that.
Hopefully, I'll be able to get the keg right now. Like I said, I got the serving pressure like down to 4 psi to get the foam under control because it's so has so much foam to it. It's pretty crazy when I pour it. I'll show you guys later on. So I guess that leads us to what we're drinking today. So today we're gonna drink
I
another
don't know.
one
It
of my
doesn't have a
beers.
label.
Mine
Doesn't have
does.
a label. I know. Yeah, his has a label on it. Mine doesn't either. To make me feel any better. Um, but I did write on the top, and I put in BHA,
Yeah.
which stands for Blueberry Honey Ale.
Whoops. Now
Um,
I've
this
shaken
is
it up.
right. Oh yeah, yeah. So the back. So I guess I should tell you a little about homebrew. So since I bottled conditioned these, the very bottom, which you can't really see on camera very well or see in podcast format, but you have what's called a yeast cake for the most part, and just kind of sits at the bottom. So when you pour the beer out, you want to keep back like a quarter inch or so. Um, some people don't like the yeast. Sometimes people say it makes them feel kind of crappy the next day, pun intended or not intended. But some people like the unfiltered beers though too, so that has yeast in it. So I don't choose your own battles, I guess. So I'm gonna crack mine open because I'm thirsty and
Me
this is a
too.
good beer. I really like it. So here you get that.
Ooh,
Oh, barely got
I
some
did
of
it.
it.
I'm putting it in my double
I
walled
didn't
glass
have
because
much.
I want it to be
Oh.
nice and cold.
Yeah.
I'm drinking out of a Nespresso coffee glass, but it's like the perfect size.
There you go. All right.
It smells
So
delicious. I'll say that. I can smell the blueberries already.
yeah, so it's definitely a dark golden hue for the most part. Actually, it has a really nice. It's not a white, like off-white head to it.
Yeah,
It
mine
has a
is.
very
Everything on mine just looks red. I need to
has
figure that out. My face
I
looks
don't have
red.
a.
My glass looks
have had.
red.
Wow, that's weird.
I have no head on it. Yeah, I can
Hmm.
smell the blueberries.
Yeah.
Really, like
Yeah, a lot of blueberries. I like how the hops balances some of the sweetness that is just residual sweetness that is there. I'm trying to remember what hops it has
Yeah.
in there. Oh, Cascade. So
I
these are
can't
the ones
remember. I think this was the very first one of your beers that I tried. Maybe.
Yeah.
And because I was super excited about it. Because it sounded good. It had all the
Yeah.
right things.
All the right things. Yeah, for sure. So you guys got questions for me, but I have some questions for you guys for you
oh
said Bill and
no.
me. So I just kind of want to clarify like a couple things. I know we talk about different styles of beers all the time, but I don't think we talk about like how some of these beers get made and stuff like that. So do you guys know what the difference is between like warm fermentation or top fermentation versus bottom fermentation versus open fermentation? Do you guys know what any of those things are? Ever heard of them?
Only from talking with you, I've heard of the open fermentation for like a farmhouse ale kind of thing, or the um, saison, I think, was
Yeah, they
something that
can
was
be.
an
Yeah.
open, and then the difference between like a lager, they're usually cold. They ferment them cold, but then
Mm-hmm.
you've found other ways to ferment, which kind of cause this or can produce the same results. But I don't know enough about that to speak to it. But I don't know
So
what
yeah,
bottom fermenting or top fermenting. I don't know the difference
top
between those are.
fermenting is. Yeah, so I wrote down just a couple things just to kind of cover it. So top fermentation are going to be basically your ales. So all the yeast will sit on top of your wort, and wort is basically unfermented beer, right? It's the sugary syrup that we make as brewers. So it does all of its flocculation and stuff like that, and it usually ferments around 68 degrees plus for the most part. And it will produce more of a sweeter beer and full body. And there's one other thing too. I'm drawing a blank on it now. What's the other thing? Yeah, I lost it. Sorry. So that's kind of like what top fermentation ales, for the most part. So for your bottom fermentation, that's lagers, right? So what happens there? The yeast will drop to the bottom of the vessel and ferment upwards, basically. And it actually takes longer because it's around 40 to 50 degrees. So the yeast is just slowly eats away at all those sugars. So some lagers can take 6 weeks or more to make a lager.
Did you say what temperature? Or
So
did they say what
yeah,
temperature?
yeah. So for bottom fermentation, it's about 40 to 50 degrees
Okay.
Fahrenheit, and for the top fermentation, it's about 68 plus, roughly. Give or
Yeah,
take.
because I was when I was doing my ciders,
Mhm.
I was trying to carbonate them, and then in order to carbonate them, you can either like put them in the fridge, so like that's like around 30, like 4 to 38 degrees, somewhere in there, and that will stop your fermentation process prematurely.
Yep.
Otherwise, it'll just eat it all, and then like you'll get a bottle bomb, and you'll remove all the sweetness. So I was trying to do two things. I was trying to carbonate it, and I was trying to back sweeten it. So as soon as I added more sugar, the back sweetening kind of starts being eaten by the stuff. So
Yep.
there was that.
Residual yeast.
So then it was like in order to stop the yeast, you had to either keep them all refrigerated, and then that didn't guarantee it. So that's why it must start doing that kind of stuff, like where the yeast will survive in a colder environment. Or you have to pasteurize it, which is like 180 degrees for like a set period of time. I actually did that because I had a sous vide, like a pressure immersion cooker, and I just like sous vide all of my bottles. Terrifying though, like putting something under pressure in heat. But I was just like, and they came out a little under pressured, but they're sweeter and less carbonated. But anyhow,
so mine I use potassium sorbate, and that just kills yeast. So
yeah,
that's I just stopped mine.
well then you can't get the carbonation. So I was trying to get carbonation unless you were to force carbonate it with like a CO2, and I didn't have that at the time.
Yeah. So I guess the other one's open fermentation, and you pretty much described what it was. I mean, it was something that's been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Is basically you just take whatever wild yeast that's in the air, just falls down on your wort, and you just get beer that way. I mean, that's just how it was made. So it's not a bad way. We still enjoy those beers today. Some people freak out about it. I've actually heard people. I've read an article that people would go out in their yards during certain times of the year and try to just capture the yeast and separate that yeast that they catch into usable strands. So I thought, wow, that's really, really fascinating. So just trying to find out wild yeast that you can just use in your own backyard. I thought was really cool.
Speaking of that kind of stuff, I think we spoke a few. I don't know if we spoke on podcast or not, but we were talking about how you can get like local honey, and like it'll help with your allergies because it's using all of like the bees are using the pollen from all the plants that are in your area. They had they have like a senior center that had bees or whatever around here, and my wife's parents actually stopped and got us some. They got us like a 48-ounce jar of it. I've never gone through like one of those bears. I have to like throw the bear away eventually when it gets all crusty and hard at the bottom. I know you can microwave it, but that's just, I'm like, well, I've had this for 15 years. I don't need it. But this is the first honey that I've actually really, really liked, which is weird. It's like you sorry, somebody just zoomed way in on himself.
Technical difficulties, sorry.
Oh, that was great. I love it.
Dun, dun.
My phone started buzzing, and I'm using my phone as a webcam.
Beautiful.
I don't know how expensive that honey is, but I think that it would be really cool to like. But I don't know how much of the honey flavor you're getting in the end product of your beer. I feel like it eats away a lot of the sugars and stuff.
Yeah, I don't. So from this, I don't get much honey, but I definitely get the blueberry.
Yeah.
Personally, yeah.
So yeah. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So like you talk about the price. I mean, I want to say I spent like $15 on a quart. And I forgot how many ounces are in a quart, but I mean 48 ounces. I mean, I'm sure that's probably like $60-$70. I'd assume, anyways, because there's just a lot of work in beekeeping, right? I mean, just all the stuff you have to do, the equipment that you have to buy yourself, so you don't get hurt. The way you have to treat the bees, so you don't stress them out, and I mean, it's a lot for sure. So do you guys want to start rapid fire questions? Then be gentle.
Rapid fire. Oh boy.
You don't have to rapid fire. You take your time.
What made you want to brew this like style of beer? What triggered it?
So the wife got me for it for a gift. Actually, it's a kit. So it turned out really well, and I really liked it. And I've given it to you. I've given it to other people down here, and they all seem to really, really enjoy it. So yeah, I like it. It's a nice, easy. It's a good sipper. To me, it's a great summer beer for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned this, but it's 5.5%. Is that what you had for your?
Yeah, that's what I have in my notes.
So it's a little high for like a all day drinker, I would say.
Yeah.
But it does not taste hot at all. There's no aftertaste. There's no bad like you get a lot of I feel like in some higher ABV beers you end up tasting the alcohol a little bit, and I don't really that doesn't happen here. It's very blueberry forward.
Right.
How many times? I was gonna say this is the second batch that you've brewed, or is this?
Correct. That's my second batch.
Yeah, this one was bottled on. Well, bottle date was 5/15/22, so it's been aged for a little while.
A year old, yeah. So I think this is probably about the peak. I think anything past this will be may have to go down the drain.
Do you think that I guess you would know more than I would. I do still have some of your first batch, I think, in the basement. I'm afraid to drink at this point, but the last one I had was good, but I had like one before it that wasn't as good. Well, you put, let's say, electrical tape to preserve them on the bottles, but do you think that that actually kind of helps to prevent like any kind of
Ooh,
flow? Because I know that
that
they
is a
do
good
that
question.
when you get a growler or something. Any,
Yeah. No, I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head. I've never really tested. It'd be a good experience. I just don't know how to measure it. I guess I would have the bottle the same from the same batch at the same time. Bottle one with just a regular cap. Bottle one with another same style cap and everything, and then put some type of sealant around there, some type of tape or whatever, and then let it sit for whatever 6 months or whatever, and then crack them both open at the same time, same temperature, and pour them out and try them. But actually, I would have to. I guess I'd have to Rhonda, my wife, help me out with that. Do like a triangle taste testing to see if I could taste the difference. See if one get oxidized or anything like that.
um, so you brewed this multiple times. So the first one was a kit, so you didn't really have very much kind of say in it. What did you do differently when you brewed it the second time, or did you try and match it?
So second time I just bought the kit again. I really like the
Oh,
kit. The kit's
nice.
really good. So what I did was, I guess I'll cover. I'll cover it now. It's fine. So yeah, so I bought the kit. The kit's about $50 or so. So to make it my own, I use distilled water. The recipe just says use water, so it just leaves it up to you whatever you want to use. But using distilled water, it's a very clean blank slate. It has nothing in it. So I end up adding salt, brewing salts to mine, and I used 2 grams of Jimson and 2 grams of Epsom salt for a 6-gallon batch to drop the pH or make it a little bit lower, just because the pH on this I think is like 5.6, 5.7, and I want more like 5.2, 5.3. Just because then it gives more of a better taste and flavor profile and stuff like that to it. And then what I did at the very end, I added a Warflock tablet. If you don't know what that does, basically what that does, it will take all the proteins and kind of coagulate them together, and then as you fermenting, it drops it all to the bottom, so you get a nice clearer beer, without having to use like filters or anything like that, which stuff I don't have. Or gelatin is another way you can do it too.
If you when you brew this again, are you going to change
Yeah.
anything?
I thought about it, and I think the one thing I would probably change is I would add some honey malt to it because I made a honey cream ale, and I could actually taste the honey in that because it's a malt. It's not honey I'm pouring into it, so a lot of that taste stayed there. So I may add like 4 ounces to it just to see if I can get that more honey to pop out.
That's
That's what
all.
I would.
That's all I had for now. I'm sure I'll think of something else, but it'll probably be later tonight.
So my questions.
Sure.
So what? So you said it's a kit. What do you
Yeah.
look for in a like? How many like do you do kits often? What do you look for when you do a kit versus trying to make your own recipe? Like, do you have a preference?
So that's a great. No, that's a good question. Thanks for asking that one. I still enjoy doing a few kits, and I think because they've already have everything kind of dialed in, and I've already had them before, so I know what they taste like, and I like the way they taste. And I don't know if I could match it for as cheap as I could buy the kit, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Um, because like one kit that I had was like a Belgian strong, right, and that uses like candy sugars, which aren't cheap. It's pretty expensive just to buy by itself, not alone the grains and stuff like that. So you get all this into a kit, and it's fairly cheap. Um, Other than that, I think I enjoy designing my own recipes. I think I have enough experience in anything about where I can kind of look at the hop profiles and the malt characteristics and kind of get an idea of what I want to make. But I still read a lot though too, because there's so many different ways you can make this stuff. You can go to 15 different breweries and have a lager, and they all taste different. So
Yeah.
Very different too. Not even like you're like when I was first starting to drink, and we would go to breweries because breweries back in I don't want to say back when, but back when I was like 22 or 23, they were few
35
and
years
far
ago.
between. And then like we would go to like ABC, which was like the one in Ann Arbor, and I did not like any of their stuff. And I was like, give me the Bud Light. And they're like, we don't have that, sir. I'm like, I understand, but just give me your lightest, whatever beer is going to be similar to that. And I hated them all almost all the time. But then I found out that I didn't really care for that brewery back then. I don't know if it's changed since then, but those breweries I feel like I feel like breweries tend to have a very unique style to their beer. Like their beers are all going to taste very similar because of either the water they're using or the yeast that they end up using. Like I say this every time, but you haven't really done that really because you're starting with distilled water, so you have nothing in your water most of the time, and then your beers I feel like taste distinctly different, especially your Schwartz beer. Um, but they but it's just I think you're exploring your own style, and I'm wondering if as a master brewer in one of those other breweries and stuff like that, if they end up kind of pulling from their own playbook, so to speak, to make all their beers, or if they're asked to make something of this style and then just kind of go from there. But
I would assume a low column A, low column B, right? Because if you're the head brewer, master brewer, we're gonna call them. Like it's your responsibility to make a good beer that's profitable.
right,
So if you already have something that's tried and true, and you know it's gonna sell because you already know your crowd, you're gonna make that. But at the same time, you want to be experimental too. I mean, I've had some stuff that is just strange, like not great. I'll never buy it again. Like kombucha, hard whatever. I don't even know what it is. Those are nasty. I cannot get on board with those. I try them just because I drink kombucha once in a while. It's okay, but the alcoholic version of it, it's not good. But it's trendy.
yeah,
Right?
I don't. I've never.
It definitely is. It's very
I've never
acidic.
had
I've
it.
never had it, but I think it's like tea,
Oh,
right? And it's acidic and just
vinegary. A lot of
yeah,
vinegar.
yeah, yeah. Um, so actually, I had a question for Mike. Which I guess okay, it's not all you, Jeremy. I'm gonna ask Mike some questions now. So I remember, Mike, he mentioned he didn't, drink, he drank his Bud Lights, but I remember we would go out to Founders when they were in Detroit, and I think that was kind of where we started exploring. At least you
Yeah,
realized there's other stuff you might like. And one of the ones you really liked was their Honey Badger Ale or Honey Badger, right?
blueberry
Does
honey badger. Yep.
That's what it was. So this is a blueberry honey ale, blueberry honey badger ale, uh, from Founders. Do they compare? Because that's a different style of beer, which I didn't realize. But
Big.
I think that so that's a braggot, and we talked about a braggot.
yes,
So a braggot ends up being and Jeremy, correct me when I'm wrong, not if. They the braggot is just a combination of like an ale essentially and a what's the other
mead.
Yeah, a mead. And like
I googled it. I didn't know.
I don't care for mead at all. Like
Really?
I want carbonation, and meads don't have carbonation. And it's a weird like, oh, this is a flat beer, you can have it back kind of a situation. Like so I don't know why I liked that one. It wasn't, I don't know if they technically made it a mead first. So they may have just like called it a braggot just to like have a cool like catchy name. It was funny because I asked the waitress if they were going to always have that, and then they've never had it again.
Yeah.
Never. And I've been like so like it was just like somebody's experiment, and I loved it. So it was, I think that it was super heavy blueberry, like maybe a almost fake blueberry flavor to get it to be like very forefront. Like it was almost like purple. I don't remember it being purple, but I enjoyed it. I think it was like 9% too. So because the I think the mead half of it was was super heavy. So this is a much better, simpler, less heavy version of it. I like
It's
I
more
like
of a
this one.
beer than a mead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't remember that I ever had Honey Badger. I think that might have been at the time when I wasn't drinking, but and then it was gone. Yeah. Another question for Mike, and this is a segue from you were saying you were going to ABC, so you went to college in the Upper Peninsula at Michigan Tech, and
How do you?
Keweenaw Brewery.
Where
is
would
up
you have
there.
gotten that information from? Yes.
Did you ever go? I don't know if because geez, this now we're gonna age ourselves, but that was 20 plus years ago, being in college.
Yeah.
I don't even know if QAnon had a tap room, because now they do on the main strip.
I think they didn't have a tap room, but I think that there was still. Oh, I don't know. I never really went to the bars to drink. We would just.
Yeah,
I mean, we did, but then I would just be like, because back then I didn't drink beer at all.
right.
So I would, if I did drink, it would have been like rum and coke or something, and then that's just a lot easier to make at home. So like we would just hang out and drink at like parties and stuff like that instead of going to the bar. We would go to get food. Plus, I was like poor as a college
Right,
kid.
that's
I
the
couldn't
other thing.
afford to do any of that kind of stuff. But I don't
Yeah.
remember there being breweries much at all up there, because I know that Keweenaw has the brewery now. I've had some of their beers when I was up there last 2 years ago, and they were really good. I think you can get them somewhere, some down like a little
You
bit
can get
lower.
them. I think I've seen them here. They ship them.
Oh, nice.
They're around.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. I think that was my questions. I actually have more questions for Mike. Sorry, Jeremy.
Oh no, you're fine. Well, since you're calling like Michigan beers and stuff like that, my cousin gave me a bunch, so maybe we can try to find some more and do some of those on one of these podcasts coming up. I think it'd be kind of fun because they're all, like I said, they're all basically based out of Michigan. But I did want to circle back to the blueberry braggot thing. So, like, I've thought about it a couple times, and I was talking to Mike about this actually just earlier, like a half hour ago or so, maybe. That if I were to make a braggot, what I would do is I would probably make a blueberry mead, and then I would make just a regular old pale ale, whatever, just something really simple, and just blend those two together to make it that way, instead of trying to make my blueberry honey ale and then make a plain mead and put that in there. I think I'd rather just shoot for the blueberry mead itself, because at least that way, hopefully, I would get um more of a blueberry flavor, even color too. But you kind of need to get that bluish, purplish kind
I
of
feel like it
color
was a little bit blue, but I can't
Yeah.
remember.
It could have been. Very well could have
I'm
been.
gonna Google it. I'm sure they have a.
I
Well,
doubt it.
actually,
It
I
was
don't
like it was. I think it was like a that brewery exclusive beer, and they just didn't do anything from there.
Delicious.
Oh, they did do. I feel like we talk about founders a lot on this.
We do.
And
We do.
it's unfortunate that they closed their tap room, and there
Yeah,
was a lot
they
of
did.
drama with their brewery, or still is. It sounds like. Apparently, they did bottle the blueberry braggot. Well, it doesn't say honey, but that was one of their mothership series.
Oh, I have that one, and it's not the same.
Oh,
Yeah, I was super
Then never mind.
excited and bought like I think 4 6-packs of that or something or whatever, and it was, or maybe I just bought one, or because I tried it at the place and it wasn't great. It was not the
Gotcha.
same. Or
Mm.
like everything, my taste buds have just changed since then.
That's
So,
true. I mean, it changes what every couple of years, or something like that. Like you should taste buds daily or something like that, but like your taste overall changes like every few years.
Yes, this is so. There are some reviews of it from 2018 on Beer Advocate. So I guess that was the one and only time they ever brewed it.
yeah, that was like right when so 2017 is right when we like the fall of 2017 was when I first tried like barrel aging beer or barrel aged beer. And that was a game changer, I think, for the most part. Down this like slope of this slippery slope of rabbit holes that is barrel aging beers.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and I did find pictures of it on Untapped, and it's a similar color. It looks maybe a little bit more red, but I guess hard to tell.
Redder than this
Camera
one?
lighting, all that stuff.
Yeah, it looks like it looks like Mike's there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and I guess there is just I don't know there's more than a few, but I've only had one other blueberry commercial, and it's made by Sweetwater. But it's a wheat beer with hints of blueberry. It's not bad. It's actually pretty good, but it's definitely, I know you two have some issues with wheat overall, so you may not want to try that one. Or you could,
I probably would, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, there's a reason I don't drink wheat beers.
Why do I keep scratching all over the place?
Why am I sneezing and have a headache now?
Yeah, one of the other times I went to Total Wine and More, I found another blueberry honey ale, like literally, or they call it honey blueberry ale, but it's from Fatheads Brewing. We could put a link in the description, but there's it's called Bumbleberry. So I liked the name of it, but I'm gonna have to give you guys one of those and see what if that tastes any different or not. I felt like yours was better when I had one, but I can't remember now. It's been a minute.
So
Jeremy, did you want to?
use flake barley in there, so it's gonna be definitely different than mine.
Right.
No, sorry, what was the question?
I was going to say, do you want to go over the recipe, or do you want to just link to it and?
Yeah, I'll probably just do that because like
Okay.
the recipe,
'Cause
it's
like
their
a little-
recipe.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Did their recipe have? I'm assuming they gave you honey to give. Blueberry was just an extract.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's a good question too. So I've talked to a couple master brewers in the past, and you never know the amount of fruit you need to put into something to get the flavor you want. So it's
It's a
always
ton.
easier just to do extract. You'll save money and time, and you'll be happy with the results majority of the time.
Yeah, I know. Just from following Holmes Brewery out of Ann Arbor, like they would post pictures on their Instagram. It's like, oh, we're brewing a fruited sour or whatever, and they would just cartons or whatever, like barrels of like the fruit that they're adding to it. And it's like that's like I get why these beers are $5 for a can or whatever. It ends up being more than that, but
That's a lot of
yeah.
work, that's for sure. Yeah. And plus,
Well,
I
then
don't have a big vessel. I would need something. I would probably need like
Right.
a 20-gallon pot. I don't have an 8-gallon pot, so I mean, there's that too for me. So
Well, then I wonder, like, so Shorts Brewery, one of their beers, I feel like one of the beers that made them super popular, was not Summer Shandy. Help me
Soft
out here?
Parade?
What's it called?
Soft
Soft
Parade
Parade. Thank
Shandy?
you. And that one has like strawberries, raspberries, and some other berry. Like, and the amount that they produce, I just wonder, like, are they using fresh fruit?
I'm
And
sure that they can't. They would
how
just
do they?
when they start
Yeah.
mass producing it. I'm guessing they just have to go down to like a chemical level, essentially, as get the extracts and stuff. But maybe
Yeah.
I'm wrong. I mean,
And they produce so much of it. I
Right.
mean, and that thing used to be 9% back in the day. It was.
they had they released one of those style last year. I think we have a couple. My wife really likes the Soft Parade Shandy, the lemonade
That's what I was thinking.
basically version of that. But then they have like the double essentially, and it's like a 9%. She's like,
Yes.
it tastes freaking delicious, and I'm like, it's got all the right fruit in it for me. But
It's very tart.
Yeah.
So that's the.
what is it?
Yeah, it's delicious, but you can a couple of those and you're gone.
You're gone. Night time.
yeah, somebody gave me a shareable one. I'm not sharing.
I did. He's not sharing. What a jerk.
Yeah, I just found a 20-ounce glass that would fit it all with the last 2 ounces.
Yeah, so I'll be making that one again shortly. I'd say sometime in June.
Cool. I'm excited.
So am I. I just drank my last one.
So you'll probably, when this airs, you'll probably have already made your next batch.
Probably, yes. More likely. Yeah, well, I think this is probably a good wrapping up point. Unless any more questions from anyone? Yeah, all right. So remember, drink responsibly.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to have some pints with your pals.
Yeah. Like, subscribe, comment, ring that bell.
Cheers.
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 Let's go on.
Aw.
Aw.